Nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. So says the Kybalion. This is the third of the 7 Hermetic principles, that of vibration, which again states nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. Let's get down to basics. You may remember from your physics class, or even just your elementary science class, that matter comes in 4 phases. Used to be 3, now it's 4. The fastest of which is plasma. That may be the one you didn't hear about as a kid, but I assure you, it is a 4th phase. Plasma is the fastest phase. You may know it as like an arc of electricity, which means it's an ionized gas, for instance. So think neon lights. That light is being emitted from a plasma state. The next fastest, or now would be slower than that rather, would be a gas. This would be like air. Then, slower still, is liquids, or water. And finally, solids, or earth. This is simply describing the nature of matter. Like, how does matter exist? Well, matter vibrates. If we go right on down to the atomic level, we don't have to go below a proton. Let's just go just for the basic atom. All atoms are constantly vibrating. We constantly, by our current paradigm, see electrons as rotating around a proton. It kind of reminds me of how the planets go around the solar system. More on that though. For more on that, look up Nassim Haramein as a physicist who speaks a lot about that subject. But here we're talking about vibration. I just want you all to really think about this, contemplate this. Vibration just has to do with the different phases of matter. As a matter of fact, I already said solid, liquid, gas, plasma. But we can also look at this in terms of 2. We're going to get more on 2 later on when we discuss polarity. However, for now, think of the most dense form of matter, most densely vibrated form of matter, as solid. And when I'm saying dense matter, I'm also going to include all the 4 elements, or 4 phases of matter in this, as solid. So liquid, gas, also plasma, is going to be solid, just for where I'm going for with this. Those are the denser forms of matter. They vibrate slower than, say, spirit and mind, which is on the other side of matter, which is very fine matter. Spirit being the least dense, the fastest of which. In fact, it can go so fast that it's going to defy all tests. We won't be able to see it. Think of what they used to call the ether. And for all you people who know of the Michelson-Morley test, that test is flawed, but that's a subject for a different conversation. But we're going to focus just on what we know. We know the 4 phases of matter because that's taught to us in science. We may not necessarily know of spirit and mind, but I assure you these are just higher rates of vibration. They are still part of matter. Your mind is part of matter. It is intimately connected. If you don't believe me, we have something in here called the brain, which is sort of the seat of our consciousness. We may think of mind as a non-physical aspect of the brain, but we can make just as many arguments saying that the brain existed before mind. Whether the mind existed before the brain or the brain existed before mind is sort of irrelevant. What is relevant is that the electrical charges that go through the brain are just merely a different form of this vibration. Okay, so that's the basics in terms of vibration describing the nature of matter. But it also, of course, describes the nature of thought and moods. As a matter of fact, we can still link this to matter. I want you to do an experiment. I want you to hyperventilate. Hyperventilate for me. Notice your mental state. You should notice that you become more excited. This is just one example of how breath can affect the mind. Another is to take deep breaths, slow deep breaths. You should also notice now that you'll start to calm down. Thus, you can control your mood or mental state by changing your vibration. You can change your vibration by regulating and changing the speed of your breath. Your mind is completely under your control if you take control. If you will be a magician, then that is your job to take control of your mind. For everybody else, why not control your mind? If you control your mind, you control your moods, you control your mental state, and thus you control your breathing, which will lead to regulating your health, and even that will become under your control. So with vibration, there's a lot more to it than what I've said, but the basis of it is you are intimately connected to matter because you are matter. All of your being is a phase of matter. And vibration teaches us that we can control our physical condition and control our mental conditions. There's actually going to be a lot more of this later on when we discuss some of the other principles. And definitely when we finish the principles, we're going to put it all together. But for now, just remember this. Nothing rests. Everything moves. Everything vibrates. Which also brings up another point. There is nothing that is permanently still in the universe. Even if you see a rock on the ground doing nothing, if we were to put it into, say, an electron microscope, we would see that its matter, its electrons, its atoms are constantly vibrating, constantly moving. Also, the rock is on this planet, which is constantly spinning and constantly moving around the sun, which is constantly moving throughout the universe. Again, apparent rest, but it is in actuality moving. So, knowing that everything is moving, use that to inspire your own momentum to move. Work on your habits. Break them. Work on yourself. Excel. And if you'd like to learn more, or if you'd like a reading, come on over to Wimsaur.com. All my prices are accounted for right there. So, remember, nothing rests. Everything moves. Everything vibrates. And happy magic, everyone.